Welcome to The Fire Within, the Okanagan Valley's weekly entrepreneurship program where we visit with genuine Okanagan entrepreneurs and learn about their fire within. This week, we're going to be visiting a genuine entrepreneur from the Okanagan who I cheated a little bit. I'd met several years ago. But before I introduce him, I want to tell you the little story. I moved here from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan about 7 years ago with my wife. And after the first couple of months, I was invited to meet with the management of Quails Gate Winery. And when I entered the reception area at Quails Gate, and I had to wait a few minutes, so I sat down, and the receptionist offered me a cup of coffee. Excuse me. And lo and behold, she came out with a cup of Cherry Hill coffee in a paper cup. And before that day, I had been approached about whether I tasted Cherry Hill, and up to that point at Quails Gate, I'd never tasted Cherry Hill coffee. So I sipped my coffee, went in and had my meeting with the Quails Gate management, and no sooner did I get in my car, I went straight to, I think it was Choices or one of the organic food places, and bought a pound of Cherry Hill coffee. And I've been using it in my home ever since, which is pushing 7 years. With that as my preamble, let me introduce to you, the viewers tonight, the president of Cherry Hill Coffee, Dave Bigelow. Dave, thanks for coming. Dave is sick, and I hope I don't get it. So, Dave, would you tell our viewers a little story about Cherry Hill? Because both you and your brother that run the company are immigrants, if I may use that term loosely, from Manitoba.
Yeah, it was, seemed like many moons ago, but back in the early 90s, I'll give you a little bit of a story, and I think
Please.
You might remember this story. It's a little bit of a tearjerker, but it's really where it all started. My parents were divorced, and of course, in any divorce, it goes pretty tough with the kids. And even though I was in my 20s, my mama's boy, and I was very strong.
There's a confession.
Yeah, so I wasn't very close to my father at that time, and there was a little bit of anger and a few other things that come with that.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I could have done pretty good. I had a pretty good career in the coffee business with a very big coffee company, and I could have either stayed in Winnipeg or even moved out east to Oakville, Ontario, or a few other opportunities. But my passion kind of laid in the West. And my mom knew that, and we sat up one night talking about things, and she basically sat me down and said, you know, as difficult of a time it is for me, meaning my mother's words, that she was going through, she put her feelings aside and said, your father's a wonderful, wonderful guy. My father happened to have the coffee company out here in Kelowna. And she really pushed me and convinced me to rekindle my relationship with my father, and which was really difficult for her to probably put those feelings aside because she was going through some tough times.
Yeah.
But it was through a lot of support from her that I opened up that relationship with my father again, and I never looked back since then. And I really owe a lot to my mother because my father is now my best friend again.
Good.
My mentor, just means everything to me. We are really connected.
But I think I vaguely remember when I met you. Were you not, in fact, enrolled at the university?
Yeah, I was in an engineering program at university while working at Kraft Foods, which ran the whole Nabob and Second Cup division.
Oh, okay.
So it was pretty exciting. I learned quite a few things there. But moving out west into Cherry Hill Coffee, into my father and his partner's business, was kind of exhilarating because the blood, sweat, and tears was what every entrepreneur wants, is to work for yourself. At the beginning in the late 90s, in 99, I moved out, and the gourmet coffee industry was taking off exponentially. And we were a part of that program, but I saw an opportunity, much like the gourmet coffee was taking off, of the organic industry. It seemed every varietal that I brought in and cupped and was successful with was the organic crops. It just tasted better. And, you know, having the sustainability and some of the other things that come with it was also a really good thing. And the coffee world is really, really big. It's the second biggest commodity next to oil. Instead of being somewhere scattered in there, I'd rather take a sliver of that, you know, and be the best. and that happens to be the gourmet organic part of that industry. And since about 2000, we've had some really good years, and we're certified plant organic, or plant certified organic, which we were one of the first in BCs and do exceptional with that. And it really is reflected in our product on what we've done over the past decade or so.
So that being said, Dave, thank you for sharing that. In fact, how long has Cherry Hill Coffee Company been in existence? When did you actually launch from the idea? Because you said a moment ago in your first words, your father already had a coffee business.
Right.
But he didn't have Cherry Hill.
Well, my father, even before Cherry Hill, was a director of operations for, as well, the same company. It was coincidental that we worked in the same company, but, and they downsized his position, and he used that money and opportunity to move as well out to Kelowna, and he purchased a small little roastery here in Kelowna called Cherry Hill Coffee.
Oh, it was called Cherry Hill.
It was established in 1986.
Okay.
There was only a fellow and his wife and a roaster,
Yeah.
basically roasting beans for home. But when my father came into the business and him and his partner took over, they bought it in '93.
Oh, okay.
They expanded a little bit in the wholesale market. And then when my brother and I came out in '99, we really made some major changes to get aggressive in that nature.
So it was around '99 to 2000 that you took it over to create it.
Well, it took a few years to take the business plan into effect, and I've been running the company since 2005.
Oh,
so my father's
okay.
been retired since then.
Yes.
But
Okay.
it was part of the team. My brother, my father, and his now wife, Frances. We really did a wonderful job of integrating all our ideas and really taking off with it. It was the most exciting time, was for sure in the early 2000s. The growth factor was really good. The ideas were really good. The coffee industry was, just like now, is exciting.
Yep.
Still always learning, but for me, it was most exciting because it was the entrepreneurial dream of
Just having your own business.
and establishing your own modules into place.
Yeah. How do you see your market for Cherry Hill Coffee? I know we've talked in the past that you've made some inroads into the province of Alberta, and we talked about the different configuration for because you don't have a series of stores selling Cherry Hill Coffee. You have your plant, your main plant that's in Kelowna, and then you have your tentacles out in the different vendors all over.
Well, let me back up a bit, because this is the confusing part and the tricky part.
Okay.
There are some perception out there that Cherry Hill is a cafe, a string of cafes.
Yep.
We're not. We're really the importer of the green beans and the broker of that, bringing it in and manufacturing and converting it into such a wonderful product. And then our clients are the cafes, the golf courses, and all these places that sell and are in the food service business, or like you said, to correct you earlier, it was Quality Greens that you probably went to.
That's the one.
Very good client of
right,
ours.
in West Kelowna.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And there's many things under that belt, but if I could give the analogy, we're more the farmer, not the cook.
Okay.
So we work hand in hand, if you can put that analogy together, being the cafes being the cook, and us the farmers are bringing in the materials that they need to have a wonderful and exceptional product. But with that, because Canada has a big geography, it is difficult to reach some of these places in Western Canada, because we are a fresh roast-to-order product. So we do not combine ourselves with distributors like the Cisco's. Not to say anything bad about it, but we want to be in control of all our quality control and our freshness factor. So that is one of the challenges that we have, and I do have a plan for that to expand into as far up as Prince George and as far west as or east as Winnipeg.
Oh, good.
In the near future.
Yeah, good.
And the idea is very simple. It's basically roaster houses, which combine what we're doing right now in different markets. But it's one of the biggest challenges, to be honest.
So a roaster house would be, this is a question, roaster house would be, for want of a better term, a miniature Cherry Hill plant.
Correct, and it comes with that territory so that you can facilitate and give those clients in that direct neighborhood what we can do to our clients in the Okanagan. And we actually have a pretty good success in Alberta as well.
How many, when I talk about you to people that I come in contact with in the Valley, Dave, I'm always giving you a little promotional pitch for your product. Because I always say, have you heard of Cherry Hill coffee? Well, I drink it every day in my own home. I grind the beans every second day. I have my own patter. How many varieties, I should know this, and you know I should know this, how many varieties of coffee products do you have in the plant?
It changes every year, but it's basically around 8 to 12.
8 to 12, okay.
Now you have to, just to give a little bit more education on, coffee grows in the equator belt around the world. So we're going as far as Indonesia, which is a really tough place to get the coffee. They have wonderful coffee, but their logistics and their freight is very difficult there. Tsunamis are hitting and they just don't have the development we do in first world countries. But you have Central and South America, Africa, India, even China, like anything that's in that equator belt, because you need high elevation, volcanic soil, and the right climate to have this coffee. And in fact, the higher grades of coffee are even higher up. So that's why it's really important to be in a specific area. So it can change every year because we don't stick to necessarily one thing because of it's a Costa Rican coffee, which everybody loves.
Yeah.
But this year we didn't carry Costa Rican because, to be quite honest, it didn't come in very good. So it's all about the taste and the relationship first and foremost.
Well, even though, this is also a question, Dave, even though you talk about the ideal environmental conditions such as growing grapes for wine as well, but even though you talk about the ideal environmental condition, there still is no guarantee that the beans that you import are going to be ideal for your standards, the standards that you have created and set for Cherry Hill coffee.
Well, no, in a way, that's correct and incorrect. What I need to do, as you know, in my role in the company, is really establish relationships with these cooperatives and farms and brokers.
Yep.
For those that are price sensitive and only look at that, they really get shot in the foot in the long haul. Because we've had working relationships with these places, we know what to expect every year on a lot of the varietals that we bring in. But that is sort of the one mistake several people that buy coffee futures make is they're too worried about just the price part of it. It really boils down to the quality and the relationships, much like what we have here just when we're selling the product. The relationships is just as key because if you're not going to have that relationship moving forward, you're not going to be doing business with those people. And it really works hand in hand with the cooperatives. I've visited some of them, and it really is overwhelming to see what they would do to bring in a good crop year to year.
Okay. Can you give our viewers some examples of obstacles and constraints that you have undergone in the management of Cherry Hill? Because I know, knowing you as I do, one of your other goals, which is kind of a bigger goal as president of Cherry Hill, is to have the vision not only for present but for the future. And you just touched on a point on the future. But can you talk with or share with the viewers obstacles and constraints? Because it isn't always as easy as one might think.
No.
You produce a quality coffee product, and the lineups will be like at a movie theater. Life isn't that easy, is it?
No, and it boils down to population density, which here in the Okanagan we don't necessarily have like the metropolitan cities that are like Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, and some of these other major centers. However, that continues to be an issue because we really want to grow and be a cross-Canadian company. We're a Western Canadian company right now, but that's continuing to evolve. So that usually is the geography we have in Canada. I'm about the proudest as you get to be Canadian, but the geography comes into play quite often, especially through the winter months. But the one thing that I'd like to point on, especially for the viewers out there, because this is sort of the one misconception, what's really cool about Canada, especially in the coffee business, is we don't necessarily follow the American trends. We are more situated with Scandinavian countries, Germany, France, some of these European countries. And if you go down the list in coffee per capita consumption, these are the worldwide are in the top 10. They're all the northern countries that reach these, like the Norway and the Sweden and the Finland, and of course Germany, and Netherlands is number 1.
Oh.
And Canada's, I believe, it changes 6th to 8th. So as you go more north, there's more coffee consumption, more appreciation for the affordable luxury of coffee.
Yeah.
So although we're influenced heavily by the United States, we really like to position ourselves, or I do as running the company, as a little bit of both, having European
good.
influence and some
Yeah,
American
good.
influence.
How about triumphant moments, and maybe just a little sprinkling on any worst moments? So for sure,
Yeah.
triumphant moments, moments that set your heart aflutter when you think about it now.
Well, when I got married and had my kids, that
Oh,
would be
there you
number
go.
one for
That's
sure.
cheating. That's
Yeah,
cheating.
But in terms of Cherry Hill, I think that I think the most triumphant moment was definitely seeing that relationship with my father just take off. It was at the
Okay.
very beginning.
Yeah.
It was a little awkward, but it didn't take long,
Oh,
and that
okay.
was really, really cool because, like I said, him and I are so close once again. But also just how the ideologies of some of the things we were doing were taking off, and then probably from a financial standpoint was paying them off. So that I did ahead of schedule. That's always a big thing, paying
Yes,
off
of
a debt
course.
quicker.
Yeah.
So
Especially
there's
to your father.
Yes, so there's no indebtedness to the company. But and then also when we went plant certified, every year we continue to the people that place the audit say that we really shatter the previous years and are far beyond other ones because we really go the extra mile to do everything that is involved in the organic certifications, but we really use it as a QA model as well.
Okay, good.
It's really important that our clients know that we are doing every measure to make sure that they get the most consistent, best cup of coffee possible.
Excellent. Okay, I want to ask a question that has a relationship to triumphant moments, Dave. Any exciting news, that is to say, new news for Cherry Hill Coffee Company? You've touched on some things tonight about having a plan in your pocket for expansion out and throughout Western Canada, maybe new product configurations, whatever. Can you give us?
Well, I would say it's really combined on a few things that we've already started. The introduction of our online store on the website is going very well.
Okay.
So I'm very excited about that because
How can people, let's
sure,
share with our viewers how people can access your online store.
it's quite easy, cherryhillcoffee.com.
That's it.
That's it. And
Okay, folks.
we've
There
got
you
some
go.
wonderful information. We put, the one thing about coffee is it has a really, all of our crops have a really good story to it. When you're involved in the sustainable programs, the organics, the fair trade, and all these other wonderful things, you have to almost visit these countries to see what they do to
Yeah.
give you a good product. But we have some really good stories about what is beyond other companies, what they do. I can't really speak for them, but for our company, we really want to get to the end user. There's 5 key components in that. And it really starts with the coffee, as we've talked about here
Yep.
a few times. There's another thing that's a misconception as well, is the conversion. You cannot just put a coffee bean in a filter and brew it. You have to convert it to a grind, and that's the biggest neglected or mistake that people make is the wrong grind. So we have a lot of education in that. The next thing is the right equipment to have. So we're heavily involved in equipment, as you've seen.
Yes.
The 4th thing is probably the most neglected is water. It's over 90% of the beverage, and it's, again, huge neglects there to ensure that you're putting in the right water to get that. And then the 5th thing is where we really excel at. It's our knowledge, our training, our marketing, and all these other things that we can get to finish off the recipe. And there's always in that equation, whether it's for home or for your business, things that are neglected and sort of just speedballed through for people to not finish it off right. And we really, in our website, we've got a lot of wonderful tools for that.
Good.
And you can get your coffee. And we're one of the only ones, too, that offer free shipping at 50 pounds, or
Okay.
$50 worth.
Yeah.
When we look at all the other competitors, some don't even have free shipping, and if I've seen the other one, it's $75 to $100.
Okay.
So we're very aggressive in making sure that you can buy in small amounts, because the freshness factor is huge. So that's probably one of the key things that's working out for us. So we've negotiated very good freight rates.
Something I've learned just not that long ago, within the last few months, ever since I've been grinding your beans, I bought and used a conventional coffee grinder.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, it finally petered out. It wasn't working anymore, so I had to buy a new grinder. And in talking with some of your staff, the young ladies at the front of your
The retail store.
retail store, they drew to my attention that it would be in my best interest to get a burr grinder for my beans. So, needless to say, I bought a burr grinder, and it made the difference like instantly. Instantly.
Yeah.
I was so surprised. I wouldn't have thought that, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, when you use the economical grinders, you're getting grounds that are either like gravel or like icing sugar.
Yeah.
So you get an
Yeah.
over extraction or under extraction.
Yeah.
And both over extraction and under extraction actually give off bitter notes.
Yeah.
And there's many other things
Yeah.
in between. It's also consistency. But we even let people know that if you're uncertain, let us grind it for you. Come in.
Oh, yeah.
Come in
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit more often, get the fresh, and let us grind it for you, because we have one of the key components I told you about is we've invested heavily in our equipment.
Yeah.
So if you're able to get in every couple weeks, let us grind it for you.
How about advice to aspiring entrepreneurs? I know in the years that you and I have known each other, which right now, sitting with you tonight, is probably between 6 and 7 years, we've talked about your entrepreneurial journey many, many times in our visits together. Excuse me. And I'd love to hear you tell the viewers tonight, they've already listened to a lot of your story, but do you have some advice for entrepreneurs who either are in existence today as entrepreneurs or self-proclaimed entrepreneurs, or are entertaining becoming self-employment entrepreneurs and taking a look at their fire within?
Well, you know what, we could go on for quite a bit, but I'll share one story that really hits it home. For the first few years, I'd probably say from 2000 to 2005, I think the only day I took off was Christmas. And that's what you need to do at the beginning for two reasons. You need to look at all your costs and make sure that you're in your business and really having your plan take off. And we all have the dream, and there's ups and downs. But after about 5 years, my brother took me aside and said, listen, it's time for vacation. We can disappear for a week or two and the place won't fall down.
Yeah.
And he really convinced me to get away. And it was the best therapy for me. We went to Mexico for a week, came back, I was so rejuvenated. So I think what I'm trying to say is you really need to get outside the business from time to time and not let it run your life. We all know certain entrepreneurial dreams where, you know, if you read the book, The E-Myth, the biggest or the best analogy they give is the Susie, the cake maker, or maybe the pie maker. It's the thing she does, she's passionate, she loves it. She gets in the business, and it doesn't take long before she hates making pies because she's just so within. Yeah. So you have to leave the business.
That's what people often, one of the big errors that I hear all the time is people let the business run them rather than they running the business.
And this last year that went by, I have to say it was one of my best years. And one of the reasons is I combined forces. I met with my accountant more often, my financial advisor. And it's good just to get outside the business and look at it from a financial perspective in talking to people that you got to have people on your team that won't tell you what you want to hear, but the brute reality. And I had one of my best years mainly because I was operating too much within and focusing too much on the little things as opposed to the big projects. But when you go to I think any young entrepreneur taking off, they really have to enjoy what they're doing and stick to it. I've made a few mistakes in my time, and I think one of the
who doesn't, Dave?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I if I could say one mistake you can't do is when things are going good, you have to prepare for the worst. Put something aside or prepare that next year could be bad, because that was something in the late 2000 that I kind of missed.
Dave, let's talk for a moment longer about any additional advice you can share with entrepreneurs about starting a venture, because as you've said so clearly, not just tonight, but ever since I've known you, becoming an entrepreneur and running an entrepreneurial enterprise isn't just all about Dave Bigelow. It requires more than just you. Can you share some thoughts on that with your viewing audience?
Oh yeah, that's a key point. I think that I'm in a very, very fortunate position. The people that we have at our company, Cherry Hill Coffee, you just can't beat it. I draw, a tear most of the time when I think about how fortunate we are. Amber, who runs our sales, and she's been there as long as I have, since '99 as well.
Oh, okay.
And she's a young gal that is just exceptional. We also have several others there, and even Tim, our roaster, is sort of my stepbrother of mine, and so that's a little bit of family in there as well. But I mean, I could go on and talk about everybody for hours. I've got the best team, and we're a family. And I think that really helps, because if an entrepreneur wants to get away, like I was saying earlier, of having the time to get out of the business, if you have the right people, if you're surrounded by the right people, that makes a big difference, but it also makes work enjoyable. I couldn't think of what else I'd want to do, and it really has to do with what we have and the people that are around me.
Well, let me set the stage for something and have you react, Dave. My wife and I went on Sunday for blueberry pancakes at Bohemian Cafe.
One of our longest clients.
Is that right? Yeah, I know. I was drinking your coffee there.
Great guy.
And I was sitting down facing the cashier. And there was an older man standing there, and I never, ever, in the 7 years that I've been going there as a customer for the pancakes, I never saw an older gentleman behind the counter.
Yeah.
Usually young ladies. So I started to question myself, could that be the owner? So while we were paying our bill, I asked him, I said, "Are you the owner?" He said, "Yes." So I got on my soapbox and complimented him and said, "I've been coming here for 6 or 7 years. Your staff are so friendly, so knowledgeable, and your food is good and it's affordable." And I went on and on and on. And he zeroed right in. Excuse me. He zeroed right in on his staff.
Yes.
He just talked, that's all he talked about, his staff. He didn't talk about his products.
Yes.
His food. He talked about making his staff feel important. They belong, because that enhances productivity.
I have two things to add. Hans is a personal friend of mine, and first I'm going to correct you. He's not an older man. He's a young man. He's not far off in my age, but he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I would be honored to be put in the same sentence as he is. When they moved their location from across the street and bought their building, I was there helping him out with some things.
Okay.
And he got up to thank his staff for making that endeavor work, because it was a huge, probably his milestone, be able to purchase a building.
Yep.
That is a wonderful location.
Yeah,
His little speech that he had was so heartwarming. And that was one of the times where I said, I want what he has. And you slice him up, he's the kind of guy that, he's a good one.
You're going to get me going tonight.
Yeah.
I'm feeling emotional just talking about it, thinking about it, I should say. Well, Dave, I think we've just about covered all the topics we're going to share between us tonight for our viewing audience to learn about your fire within and your entrepreneurial spirit. So, Dave, thank you very much for coming to the show tonight. I look forward to seeing you soon by my next pound of Cherry Hill coffee. That's it for tonight, folks. That's it for the Fire Within. Until next week, I'm Joel Young, your host. Good night, and thank you for being with us.